I'm only joking. Half an hour later than advertised. It's another Monday evening. I don't know tic-tac. Don't worry about it. Sign language out there. The gremlins, they crept into the Racing Post Live Extra Studios. It is time for the second edition. We're up and running again. You know who's on the panel probably. If you're just joining us, welcome along. We've got a stellar one for you. We'll be looking at everything from the weekend. It was a huge weekend for Betfair, of course, up at Haydock, and he didn't disappoint, did he? Let us know what you think of that. Watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. You know the drill by now. Facebook Live, yes, we're out there. And let us know anything on Twitter. Hashtag RPL Extra. Myself, Dave Orton, sorry to say, with the sound back on. Saw some great chats going up. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, we had a few sound issues. First time that's ever happened. But I'm delighted to say that Kate Tracey is back in full voice.
Still here. Still with full voice. We haven't lost the voice in the half an hour interlude that we've had. So,
I'll tell you, if only they could have heard when we went off and we were chatting between us. I'll tell you, Kate's never given me so many tips. Unbelievable scenes. It's great to have you back, Kate Tracey.
Oh, it's great to be back. So looking forward to this weekend on the back of a stellar weekend that we've just seen. And to say, it just keeps on rolling now that the jump season's in full swing. So hopefully we'll get a bit of rain towards the end of the week as well now.
Honestly, we could hear the gallery. They're livid at me for mouthing. Another person I think they were wishing the sound might be off for was the big bear himself, G-Rod.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Dave, it's not very often that you're silenced, is it? But that is a first, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, coming from you, anyone else I'd take that, G, but coming from you, you're fresh. We were saying you were fresh from a great afternoon at Kempton. You went racing. How good was it?
Yeah, it was lovely there. Yeah, beautiful afternoon. Not any runners there, of course, but it was still lovely.
That's a shortened version of the jokes that you did earlier. You know when you go and see like a comic, like I used to go and watch Lee Evans all the time, and you get to know the routines and stuff. He's now tried to make a joke about the fact that no one wants to turn up on this sort of ground. There were no runners, but who matters? And the more you tell it, the worse it's becoming.
Yeah, I get that feeling, but there you go. It's true, isn't it?
But you are full of a few pearls for us, and you've got a couple of things in particular. We're going to be a bit mischievous tonight, aren't we? But let's get to the big hitter himself. Let's go to Dublin. You're still out there, Barry?
Certainly am. I haven't gone anywhere. Looking forward to this show. Let's get stuck in. And
you were, of course, at Haydock. The crowd got you going, didn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think there was 12,000 people there, Dave. Their record is 12,500 people, but what an atmosphere they created. It was just fantastic. With some great racing, obviously Brave Man's Game, who we'll probably talk about in a little while. And then at 3 o'clock, we had the Betfair Chase itself, and up the third, absolutely destroying a decent enough field. And the welcome that they got back into the parade ring up to the third, and Rachel Blackmore was unbelievable. They were 8 and 10 deep at the parade ring, welcomed them back in. They got a rousing reception, a winning favourite, first Irish winner of the Betfair Chase. It was fantastic to be there and witness it.
I suppose from a sponsor's point of view, Barry, it couldn't have been any better, could it? I mean, Rachel, Henry, Aplutard. Let's stick with you, Barry.
That.
Yeah, go on.
Say that, but it could have been. Bristol de Mai could have won a fourth Betfair Chase and equalled Cotto Star's record, and I don't think there'd been a dry eye in the house. It would have been a fantastic. So there was so many different human interest stories and equine stories leading into the Betfair Chase. But no, like you say, it was great to see Aplutard win. He's favourite for the Gold Cup now. We cut him into, well, I think he was 4-1 from 7-1, and he's into 3-1 now again. So I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but Henry de Brom had some hand now in the Gold Cup market. I think he's an even money chance looking at the top three he has in the betting.
Well, even money, Henry de Brom. I tell you, he's never happy, is he? I mean, if he goes and romps up and goes one better than he did, everyone's going to be saying, do you remember that Betfair Chase? Sponsors, never happy, are they? You said to me as we were coming into the studio, Kate, about Henry de Brom's stranglehold.
Yes, complete stranglehold. I mean, now that you look at the market, a Plutard is favourite, Manella Indo, the defending champion, then in second, Envoy Alen in third. And we were saying if Eclat de Rire goes and wins the Ladbrokes Trophy, I think he's running off of 154, if I remember correctly, then if he goes and bolts up in that, then he could easily go into about fourth in the betting for the Gold Cup. So Henry de Bromhead could have potentially on the back of this weekend the first four in the betting for the Gold Cup.
What did you make of it, G?
Plutard?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was all right, wasn't he?
What do you mean, just all right? You got a racing boy, not 2 minutes in. Well, 32, some people will be saying, but we're just into the show. You're being mischievous already. Come on, even your partner in crime, the betting editor himself, Keith Melrose. There was a 180 RPR. Come on, I bet on Monday morning you scurried in, didn't you, on your Zoom calls that you do or whatever it is. You were like, we've got a 180.
Yeah, I spoke to Mason actually on Sunday, our great jumps handicapper, Steve Mason, and I said to him, what did you make of a Plutard? He said, I could have gone anywhere from 175 to 188. but I've gone 180. So he could have actually gone £8 higher or £5 lower. It's one of those races, isn't it, where it's hard to put an exact figure on how he ran because, as Barry's saying, like the race behind him, Bristol de May obviously was a bit disappointing, wasn't he? And Waiting Patiently was bitterly disappointing. And Royal Pagaya was beaten 22 lengths, and then Clondor Castle, was it, or was 22 lengths behind?
Chatham Street Lad.
Sorry, Chatham Street Lad was 22 lengths behind. Clondor Castle was 4th, wasn't he? So yeah, it was a tough race to rate. He did it well, and 180 would have been good enough to win last year's Gold Cup. Minella Indo got 179 in last year's Gold Cup, so it's right that he's favourite for the Gold Cup this year now.
You say this evening that was gold, and you're absolutely right. So that was a Gold Cup winning performance. 4-1?
Well, yeah, I mean 4-1 on a horse that's just run.
3s, did you say, Barry? On
getting shorter.
I mean, that's gone.
3-1 now, yeah.
Yeah,
I've missed out.
I mean, on a horse
gone.
that's already good enough to win one, we've seen, the 180 figure would be good
3s
enough.
then. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But that big difference.
Yeah, but has he improved, or is
Manella
Indo going to come back and prove
That's
that
the
he's
question.
the best?
He's got an extra 2 furlongs, of course, in the Gold Cup. Quite see it as strong as his stablemate. But to pull like that, like he did through the race, you watch it back. You can do that on your members club now. Just watch him ping those fences as well, didn't he? Which I didn't think he did throughout the Gold Cup. I was on him. He was one of my bets of the week, so I'm watching him intently. And I thought that the jumping was fantastic. Yes, Cheltenham's a bit stiffer, but the whoosh that we got on the run-in to pull away like that, he's a 2-miler running in Gold Cup company. There he is. Look at that. He was absolutely, you can't get any lower than that, can you? It was absolutely marvellous. Oh, and there you are. There are the beaten distances. Yeah, Clondor there in 4th. And the race fell apart a bit, Barry. Royal Pagaya, we still don't quite know how good Royal Pagaya is. He's going to go to the King George next, isn't he? A Plus Tard looks like it's Savills for him, the race he won last year.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And then straight to the Gold Cup. Henry de Bromhead has indicated. Royal Pagaya ran a decent race. Graeme might have been a bit lively for him. Be interesting to see him in a King George. What a King George it's shaping up to be. It's going to be a very warm contest indeed. I think Imperial Aura was going well when that came down. If he had stood up, we might have seen something take on the winner. But yeah, it did. The race did kind of, for various different reasons, fold a bit in behind. But the winner could only do what it did, really. It was just so impressive. Never really out of a half speed, and absolutely when she gave him the office away, he went. 22 lengths could have been 44 lengths really if she had got busy on him. But it was just, it's hard to. I know what Dave's or G-Rod's saying about the handicapper could have gone either way with him, but it looks a really, really decent performance on paper at the moment, and the Savills will probably tell us a bit more.
Beautiful, isn't it, this show? This is the newsy part of the show that we love. The review could go on and on and on. Earlier, of course, on the card at 150. Again, Barry, I'm going to want to stick with you on this. There was a graduation chase that Nichols has farmed over the years, but this is twice now Brave Man's Game has come out over fences, beaten the more experienced horses, and has hardly touched a twig. You had to be impressed with that on Saturday.
Yeah. Very much so. Now, there was a couple of people saying that to their eye today on the Weighed-In podcast, the Betfair Weighed-In podcast, Tony Cobb was saying he didn't think that the winner had a whole lot left. I'm not sure I subscribe to that theory. One thing, if you break it down into components, his jumping was fantastic for a horse that was only having his second start over fences. Really attacked his fences, put himself right at the 3rd last or the 4th last when he got in a little bit tight, which is always a really good sign for a novice chaser. He's a clever horse, and I think he had plenty left in the tank at the line. Itchy Feet, Grade 1 winner, albeit he'll never reach those dizzy heights again. I don't think. It was probably a very soft Silly Isles that he managed to bag. Doesn't jump well enough to win another Grade 1, I don't think. So it's hard to what you read in the form there, but our traders were suitably impressed. He's 5-1 for the Festival Novice Chase, which is obviously the old RSA. Whether he goes the Marsh route or not remains to be seen, but I think he was 8 from 10 for the Marsh. But Festival, the RSA, probably the race for him. Be interesting to see if he ever faces off against Bob Ollinger. It looks like Bob Ollinger will probably go to Marsh route, where he's favourite for that at the moment. But if they were to face up again, interesting proposition, which one of them you'd have.
Absolutely. And yeah, they can see Paul, that was his tweet. Look, you can see that puts in a foot perfect display of jumping with a minimum of fuss at Haydock and under a confident ride from Harry. 2 things quickly to take from that. The rides were interesting in the race, weren't they? Gavin Sheehan really tried to put it up to Harry. Let's see what will he like it up him. Loved the way he responded, Brave Man's Game. He stood off mighty, didn't he? And I think Harry never looked in trouble, did he? How much did he have left on the running?
See, I think he is this kind of horse where he is such a laid-back character. You see that the way that he goes through his races. And even when, I hark back to when he won the Challow there at Newbury last year. And as soon as he pulled up after the line when his job was done, he immediately stopped to a trot. And he was almost a bit scratchy in the way he pulls up. I honestly think that's just a characteristic of him. And on that line, sort of when he won the Challow, he liked to chip in at his hurdles. And I sort of doubted the scope he had for a big horse. Obviously, he's completely put that to rest now over fences. And I almost think in a way, because of that, the way he shaped over his hurdles, we're preferring to get into the bottom of his hurdles than to get over them. It's probably almost taught him to be that bit clever over his fences now. And he has such a brain in his head. And I was really hoping, unlike Newton Abbott, someone was going to harry him for the lead. So we just learned more about him. Brilliant bit of placing to put him into that contest at Newton Abbott because of the weight he was getting from his rivals there. But again here, itchy feet. Every time he tried to harry him on the front end, he did an itchy feet and he hit a fence. Halted his momentum, couldn't get on board. But the thing with Brave Man's Game, it's whether you sort of buy into the idea that he puts other runners under pressure, that they can't make any inroads to harry him, or he just hasn't had that threat yet. So I'm not sure how much we've learned necessarily.
Yeah, and that over fences catches runners out more over hurdles than it does. Now, there will be some people screaming at the television, going 23.5. And of course, Bob Ollinger, who we also saw come out on Saturday. Some people would be saying he pulls himself up when he sees the Cheltenham Hill Brave Man's Game. What did we make of Bob Ollinger? 12 o'clock Gowran, Saturday. He finally came out. I say finally, because he was supposed to run at Fairyhouse the week before. Did what he had to? Yeah. Impressed?
It wasn't very good, I didn't think, Dave.
Go on.
He didn't look like a natural to me. I mean, when you go and watch Brave Man's Game, the way he went round Haydock, he was bang, 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 every stride, right. Bob Ollinger was like up in the air, weird shapes over his fences. Just thought he looked very, very, very strange jumper of a fence. I'm not sure that we would be seeing him over fences if Henry Bromhead didn't have Honeysuckle in his stable. I think you'd be seeing him go and champion hurdle. But because obviously Honeysuckle's in the yard, whether they then want to go and stick Bob Ollinger up against her, I think they've decided to try and take the easy option, go chase him. But to me, he's not a natural chaser. I would take Brave Man's Going to beat him over fences 10 times out of 10.
Now, this is interesting. Let's stick with this.
Harsh.
Well, I don't know, Barry. I mean, listen, you know what G's like. And listen, a lot of people looked at the round that Bob Ollinger gave and was like, not really sure about that. Now, Gowran, it takes some jumping. We know that. He was due to go to Fairyhouse the time before. That race has been won by Energamine and the likes. We didn't rate him as highly here at the Post as Energamine that we saw win it last year. But a lot of people are expecting this to be the new Dem and the new Carto, aren't we, going forward? What if Paul Nicholls was to keep him to the intermediate division and try and get him out of that jumping comfort zone?
So what's the question? Bob Ollinger, was it a satisfactory debut?
Would it be, how do you think he would cope if Brave Man's Game got to the front over 2 mile 4 over fences? Say they both go for the marsh. That would be the plan, wouldn't it, to do a
Listen, when you look at Cheltenham last year, and Harry Cobden couldn't believe when he looked around how easy Bob Ollinger was going. He said he was doing a half speed. I couldn't believe it, he said. Paul Nicholls told us that in his Start of Season piece on Betfair, that Harry just was gobsmacked when he looked around and saw how easy Rachel was going. So we know Bob Ollinger has a real engine. It was a satisfactory, more than anything, debut for him on Saturday over fences. Don't forget, Rachel Blackmore was in Haydock as well. She would have done all the schooling on him, and she's a big part of that horse's story. I think next time out he'll improve for that first round of jumping, and I think Rachel on his back will be an added bonus as well. No disrespect, obviously, to Sean O'Keefe, but I think Rachel will be a big difference as well. Like she's the only one that's ever ridden a horse over obstacles.
She can't jump them for him, Barry.
I know, but like you're taking his first chase in isolation there, Graeme. I think you're being a bit unfair. Like it's a strong statement to say 10 times out of 10. Brave Man's Game is going to do him over fences. It's fairy stuff, to be perfectly honest with you. We just know that we know Bob Ollinger has a better engine than Brave Man's Game. It was a completely satisfactory debut over fences. It wasn't like it was a bad debut. He didn't fall. He got in a bit tight. He was clever enough at a couple of them, and he can only improve for that. So, I think Bob Ollinger at this stage, Brave Man's Game's done more in his 2 wins. Visually, he's looked a real natural over his fences, but I think Bob Ollinger will come on a stone for that first run.
Well, if he does, then the rest are going to be in trouble. And of course, you allow a horse its first run over fences. It was just interesting, wasn't it? I wonder if some of those that had utter blind belief in him. Anyway, will we ever see them up against each other again over fences? It's a completely different game, isn't it? Let us know what you think. Hashtag RPL Extra. Let us know. That would have put the cat amongst the pigeons. There was also some great racing at Ascot, Barry. The Coral Hurdle, of course. We've seen the really good horses win that over the years. And Buzz came out to play again, didn't he? Now, this is what you call a masterclass from 7 Barrows, isn't it? Horse that's just won the Cesarewitch. He couldn't always jump. He's just getting better and better, this chap. And I bet he crashed in the sportsbook for the Stayers Hurdle.
Yeah, they cut him into 8 for the Stayers off the back of that. Incidentally, the horse that I put up last week, Sporting John, at 20, he's into 12 to 1 now in the same race. So it looks like they're going to go down that route. But I wasn't that overly impressed with Buzz, if I'm being perfectly honest. He beat Song for someone who had questions to answer. Guard Your Dreams was, only beaten a little over 5.5 lengths. And he looked like he was going to be tailed off turning into the straight. He was the best backed horse in the race, really. He was in 7 to 2. He had been an 8 to 1 chance when we first offered the race on Thursday at the 48-hour deck stage. But yeah, I wouldn't be running away with Buzz just yet, if I'm being perfectly honest. And he still has to show that he stays 3 miles, which is, for me, there could be a bit of a question mark about that too, because he can be a bit keen in his races. But yeah, 8 to 1 on the sports book. I'd rather be a layer than a backer.
Yeah, if you're watching Racing Post live on Saturday, you'd have seen Ryan McHugh sat in for Barry. A solid debut from the new man, wasn't it, Barry? And he said he'd gone big in running, so I agree. He's got questions to answer, but it's that sort of race, isn't it? Something can crash and get to the head of the market. Buzz, were you feeling the buzz afterwards?
I thought he was all right. I didn't think he was amazing. I mean, he travelled well and he did what he needed to do. And he
underwhelmed then?
He was all right. I didn't think you'd be rushing to go and smash him for the Stayers Hurdle, but it was better than Bob Ollinger.
Well, there we are. Well, there we are. Right, fair enough. He got further he went. Putting the cat amongst the pigeons is G as well. I think we're going to do that because that's it forward to exactly what's coming up this weekend. What a treat it is to be on planet Earth at this time of the year. Fighting fifth, we're going to go to first, Barry. It closes the card at Newcastle, 3:15. One of the cheeky chats that we had when we went off with our sound gremlins, someone said, I think Barry also said Epatant's going to go 20 to 1 for the next hour. Money back.
Yeah, that's dangerous even to say that in jest. So you want to clarify there. No, the fighting fifth, it's always a cracking race. Looks like it's going to cut up a bit, though. Obviously, they haven't had much rain up in the great northeast, and they could do with a super rain. I think there's about 4 mil forecast for Friday, and then there's 15 mil forecast for Saturday. But declaration stage on Thursday, it'll be interesting to see what goes forward. Hopefully the 7 that went forward at the 5-day stage, they do go forward. Epatant, your favourite at 4 to 5 at the moment. Monmoral 3 to 1. So Royal 4 to 1. Silver Streak 6. 10 Not So Sleepy. If you remember back to last year, Dave, Not So Sleepy jumped the first unseated rider. He ran. The horse was riderless, jumping the second, carried out Silver Streak, and kind of, it was So Royal picked it up then, and it was just kind of set up for Epatant. So Royal put it up to him a bit, but Epatant just ran away from him. She did. And she really looked smart. She was cut into 2 to 1 off the back of that last year. She's not going to be cut into 2 to 1 this year, that's for sure, no matter what she does in this race. But if she lines up on Saturday, she's going to go off odds on. Monmoral, I think they're going to need rain to see him. Paul Nichols, in his preview, again, it said it's a horse that appreciates a little bit of giving the ground. So there might be enough rain forecast for the weekend that he'll run. Can't see So Royal turning last year's form around with Epatant, and Silver Streak, admirable as he is, I can't see him doing it either. So, it's a good race, but she could go off very, very short indeed, depending what lines up.
So just to clarify, 4 to 5 on at the moment on the sports. But will that crash? Let's put the cat amongst the pigeons again, Kate. If Monmoral doesn't turn up. Now, he's got an entry at Newbury as well in a handicap. They haven't given him a mark yet. If this doesn't turn up, Monmoral, who I expect to be absolute superstar in the making, I'll be backing him if he turns up in the fight. So I hope he does. You can see there the exchange market. He's really on the slide, isn't he? And Epatant, there's the first of our polls. 58% of you out there thinks Epatant will win. So a little bit lukewarm on her. We'll get to G's thoughts after this. she's going to be 2's shot at best, isn't she, if Monreal doesn't go?
Yeah, you say if Monreal doesn't go, which, as you say, at this stage with the weather, the forecast, it looks as though, at this stage at least anyway, it's going to be softer at Newbury than it is at Newcastle. You know, he's a son of Sunday Sons as well. They want a bit of cut in the ground. He's a big, lovely horse. They're going to want him for the rest of the season, and giving £7 as well. Then to Epperton, you can totally see if they're going to go down the intermediate handicap hurdle, ballistic contest at Newbury instead, which will make Epperton, for me, very hard to beat. She's had the back operation as well over the summer, which should help her just hurdle that bit better, because we saw that for last year. Her hurdling technique just completely went astray. Her head was coming up. She looked irritated on a few occasions. I always have this concern about her. She's very marish. And very often we see her sort of coming into season at the wrong part of a time of the season. Of course, this time of year, it's very difficult for a mare to come into season. However, with the weather that we've had, when it's a bit warmer, that's always a bit of a worry about mares. Luckily for Epperton, the forecast is very cold this week, so I shouldn't be too concerned about her coming into season. But on that basis, as Barry was saying, I can't see So Royal turning the form around. Silver Streak wasn't at his best last time out at Kempton when overturned by So Royal. So I don't really see what's going to beat her. Of course, we've got Belfast Banter in there, who could be in different colours as well by Saturday if he gets sold.
Interesting. All right, absolutely. So great pearls there from Kate about mares going in season. I mean, I have to work with this guy a lot, and let me tell you, the forecast must always be warm because he's always having a mare. And what do we make of Epperton? Do you think someone could turn her over?
Well, I always like to take her on because I don't think that she's as good as she was in that season when she was absolutely dominant. Once she won the Christmas hurdle and then she won the Champion hurdle, she was absolutely brilliant. Now, she didn't reach those heights last season, for all that she might have won the fight in fifth last year easily. She was below form, obviously, in the Christmas hurdle when long odds on. She did run better, didn't she, in the Champion hurdle, but she was still beaten behind Sharjah and Honeysuckle.
Yeah, a few people went over the moon with the tactics that day. I wouldn't say ride. She got stuck on the inside a little bit, didn't she? Again, and she was very easy in the betting.
I think
they were lukewarm on her chance that day.
It's a very difficult race to bet in this race because there's no doubt about it. If Epperton turns up at her very best form, she'll win easily. She can probably afford to run 4, 5, maybe £6 below form and still win.
A little bit like she did last year, you know.
But she only ran a 152 at Punchestown last time, which wouldn't be good enough to win this. And she's a difficult horse to predict. So she's not a bet at odds on. She's never a bet at odds on, Epperton.
I'll tell you what morale.
You remember G-Rod last year in Kempton when he took her on? He backed Silver Streak. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. It was.
I do, G-Rod. I do. You were way too modest to mention it there yourself, but I remember it.
Finally a grey that jumped well. Yeah. Okay.
I was keeping quiet. Yeah, but you want to take her on here, really. But like Barry says, you look at it. Monreal might not run So Royal. She's beaten so many times, and he always comes up short when he finds a top one.
He was second in the race last year, as Barry's mentioned.
Maybe
Silver Streak was in the race.
maybe.
Silver Streak, was not a shocker, wasn't it? But he was badly below par, wasn't he? I think,
it's tough.
8 years
It's
now,
a tough race.
Okay.
She wins if she's at her best, but who knows if she will be.
Wait until she's in the paddock, I'd say, to see how she's behaving. She wears her heart on her sleeve, doesn't she? I wouldn't be backing her now at that price. I would leave it until I see how she's behaving.
But if you were Nicky Henderson, you said to him in the summer, how's she going? She's going really well. What conditions do you want at Newcastle? She's got it, hasn't she? Could this be her big date in the sun then? Go on, Barry.
I was just going to say, Kate's saying wait and see, but you could wait and see. She could be 5-2 on the day, Kate, because Monreal might run.
Good point.
Monreal might run. Silver Streak might run. Who knows what will face up? So, but she's sure to go off favourite. We're all agreed on that.
We are indeed, and she's still one of our favourites. Let's hope if she does turn up, and Monreal's there, we see them at their very best. I'll be very keen to see Monreal running this, but we'll get to it a little bit later on because we're going to talk about him on my radar section as well. Right, there was a rather large handicap chase, isn't there, this weekend at Newbury as well. Who's going out there? Who's looking forward to this 2-day meeting at Newbury? Bit of rain on the Friday we're expecting. Could it come? We don't really know, do we? But they have watered at Newbury, that's for sure. Barry Orr. It's 3 o'clock, isn't it? Like the Betfair chase was last weekend. It's a Ladbrokes Trophy. The old Hennessy, as so many people still refer it to. What a line-up if they all turn up.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a right race, as it always is, in fairness. On the ropes for Willie Mullins, the Munster National winner, is your favourite at the moment at 4-1. After that, you Fiddler on the Roof, who came back to winning ways in Carlisle last day, is 5-1. And Rillo, good vibes coming from Ditch Heath about that, is 11-2. Eclat de Ray For Henry de Bromhead, 6-1. Kitty's Light, the luckless Kitty's Light, 10-1 chance. Last year's winner, Cloth Cap, is 12, along with The Machine and Potterman, and Remastered at 12 at 16-1 bar them. I like The Machine in a Kerry Lee's horse. Watched it last week, do that bit of work in Newbury. Just a bit of a pipe opener, really. But we haven't seen it in 280 days since finished second in the Reynoldstown to Remastered. It's a horse I like, Remastered. You'll know, Dave, and people who watch the show will know that I backed it in the Per-Temps qualifier last day. Now he's considerably better handicapped over Hurls, so he ran well. I suppose it was a nice prep for this race. But The Machine is the horse I like in it. Runs well, fresh. Has only had 8 runs and only once out of the first 3. He's a horse definitely trending in the right direction. I think he's still got a very winnable mark off 142 as well. I think there's plenty of improvement in him, and he's the sort of horse I like. He fits the profile for this race for me. So The Machine would be my pick, and it's currently a 12-1 chance. And the anti-post market on Betfair, we're betting 4 places each way.
She made a sizzling start to the season. The prep run has been a big thing in this, over the years. He's got a really first time out last season at Utopster, he slammed what turned out to be one of the early form races of the season. I really like him, but there's so many to like, Kate.
So many. I actually had a long short list of 9 when I was looking at this race.
You're learning the game now. Yes.
Exactly, I really did. But I've really honed in on the trends there for the last few years, and I've come up with 2. Remastered and Potterman, who are actually sort of around similar prices in the market, as Barry was just saying then. Both with different ground conditions that they want. We were touching upon this in our brief interlude there, where Remastered, he does want softer ground, I really do think, for him. But Potterman will not mind the better ground. So I've sort of got one from either way with the weather going. Currently good to soft. They've watered for good to soft. We're going to have it rain on the Friday. It may well cut up then after racing on Friday, so we might have softer conditions on Saturday. I'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But having your second start of the season is a key trend for this race. The last 5 winners of this race have all had a reappearance start, and they've placed or won on that start as well. So with Remastered and Potterman, you've both got that angle for the pair of those 2. They're in the sweet spot there for their ratings. Weight is a positive as well. So they've had the reappearance start. They have all variables in their favour. It's just whether the ground goes in the favour of Remastered or not.
Interesting. And classic pipe sort of prep for this. Over hurdles last time, as Barry said, only backed out of it last. Looked like he's going to win for a long way entry, and just keeping that mark on 146, isn't he? Potterman, Alan King, of course, who won Sandow's Bet 365 in a controversial style, but he was absolutely beaming from ear to ear when he was beaten last time, because he's back. This will bring him on perfectly. All horses that we like out there. G-Rod, before I give my big hope for the race, and I could definitely back 3 or 4 on it. Who are you with?
Yeah, it was one of the races of the season on RP Live last year, wasn't it? The Potterman, Kitty's Light, and all the hurrah that went on
Madness.
after that.
Enrillo, of course, who's in it,
Yeah. No, I think the Fiddler on the Roof is the one to be on. For the Tizzy. Tizzy's
Let's
back,
get fizzy for the Tizzy.
Yeah, Tizzy's back. I mean,
Tizzy is back.
He got lost in translation the other day. He brought that one back.
You must have been cheering him on, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the Tizzy's right back, isn't he? And they're very good at Carlisle, wasn't he? Fiddler on the Roof, looked very good. The problem is, of course, Dave, is here. This could be one of those days where, you get lulled into that false sense of security as a British racing fan, sitting there thinking, oh, Fiddler on the Roof looks good. And then you forget that actually Willie Mullins and Henry de Bromhead are just going to train the first 2 home. So that is possible, of course. Usually what happens when Willie Mullins and Henry de Bromhead bring runners over is they usually win, and you might just want to go, oh, well, forget about it. There was a horse today at Kempton that Willie Mullins brought over. You thought, oh, that don't look very good, been beaten a million times. Probably like Willie Mullins' 6th or 7th best mare, and still absolutely thrashed our best ones. So the likelihood is this will just be won by de Bromhead or Mullins again. But I'm gonna hope that this can go to Britain, and it'll go to Tizzy, and it's going to go to Fiddler on the Roof.
Getting fizzy for the Tizzy then. Yeah, of course, it's not the greatest race historically for the Irish runners, isn't it? Of course, very controversial circumstances. Willie Mullins did win it many moons ago, and he had to be wrestled back off him. On the slopes of the 2 Irish runners, I would be more with. I know he's favourite, but that was very impressive last time, wasn't it, when he came back in the Munster National? And he's by presenting. We know they like top of the ground as well, not worried about him there. I prefer him to El Cat de Rire, who El Cat de Rire, I backed him in the old RSA. When he came over, that was the unseat, wasn't it? I love this horse. Old-fashioned, proper trier, stayer, ploughs. Very worried about the ground for him if they don't get it would be ground for me. I wonder whether he might lose touch. The horse that I'm going to put on top, though, and this will have to be an utter stats buster, this is not usually something I go for, is the 5-year-old in the pack. No 5-year-old's ever won this race. But Kitty's Light.
Oh, he's wonderful,
you
isn't he?
cannot get off him if you've been on the bandwagon, and I have been on it. I've been riding that bandwagon.
Cliff Horse.
Cliff Horse.
Oh.
Yeah, he does have a few twos next to his name. And of course it was the Shamba Cliff Horse. I tell you what, this is a freak. Christian Williams picked this guy up for 5,000. He's bred to be running on the flat, isn't he? And it was the Badger Rails. Remember on this show last year, Barry? He had
jumped like a piano.
Oh, I tell you what, if he is in with a chance.
Obviously getting all the allowances that day.
But
yeah, Jenny tonight.
He's
been so unlucky, the horse, hasn't he?
He
Just seems to bump into one. And then what happened in the Bet 365 Gold Cup at the back end last year? It's just, he's due a turn of luck, definitely.
I spoke to Christian Williams before the Charlie Hall chase, and I said, if he's there 3 out, Christian, he's going to hit the line, isn't he? He goes, well, you just see. We'll have to see how close we can get, like that. But he loves this horse. We don't still quite know how good he is. He's a 5-year-old. It's mad, isn't it?
You can play this back when he wins on Sunday, right? But he will be out the back of the TV screen.
That's what I love about him.
He will be out the back of the TV screen and he will not be sighted because this race...
What are you on about?
This race, you must be in the first 6 or 7 early on.
Yes.
You have to jump well and you have to have the ability and class to travel up there, and he doesn't have it.
Cloth Cap showed exactly that when he did it last year, who reopposes his second time off a wind up, isn't he? Is anyone still loving Cloth Cap, the 9-year-old? No, you wouldn't be, but, at all surprised with. He does have perhaps a tud to prove after falling in a hole in the Grand National. Kitty's Light, if he's there jumping the pond fence,
He won't be.
If he's 10 lengths off him,
Dave. He won't
he
be.
will run home. How many places are we going to get on the sports? But that's another bet, isn't it? It'll be at least 5, won't it, on the day? So, I'm
4 at the moment in the anti-post market, so I would imagine 5 or 6 maybe, yeah.
Get it up,
Like you say,
Barry.
Graeme-
Get it up. I might need them according to G. But I can't get off him. I know everyone loves him out there. Enrillo, of course, who, how do we say, third in the end in the Bet 365. I mean, look, for all the way like he was going to do it, I could see why Paul is warm on his chances. Marker 147, next destination was penciled in for this. He didn't obviously make the Betfair chase. He could be very well handicapped, but the extra stamina, and they're going to have to change the tactics with him. He doesn't want to hit the front too soon, does he? So.
No, but at least he will most likely be ridden prominently, and that's what Graeme makes a really positive point there, that you do need to be ridden forwards in this race. Prominent races just feature time and time again. They always go a million, but they just stay there. They literally just stay there.
Kitty's going to light up that home straight. Don't you worry about it. I am really, really keen on him, but so that'll be part of my double then. Shall we move on to On My Radar time? Is that right? Am I getting thumbs up from the gallery? It looks like I might do it any minute now. I think I've got a thumbs up from the gallery. Sound still on? Happy days. Okay, so what have we got? On My Radar then, who's going to be first as we replace the exchange market for the big one on Saturday? Still can't get my head around the fact that Monmiral is as big as he is on the exchange. If he goes to the fighting fifth, I think he can unquestionably beat Epatante. There's no doubt in that. When he won at Aintree on his sign-off in that Grade 1, I know that Adagio hit the last, but he watch back that running. That is whoosh time. And he's unbeaten, this chap. He's a proper animal, this. They're running and ahhing whether to go and get the allowances, over fences as well. You will see that I've put him on my On the Radar, not just a weekend. I think 25 to 1. If he goes to Newbury instead, have a look back at the last 10 winners of that. Epatante won this 2 seasons ago before she went on to win the Champion Hurdle. And have a look down. 2011, a certain Rock On Ruby, trained by Paul Nichols, stroke Harry Fly. But it is a road to success here. It will be Kempton next, whatever, all being well. I expect him to win wherever he goes at the weekend. I think if he does, Barry, if he goes and wins the fight in fifth, 25 to 1, that's going to look ludicrous.
Yeah, it certainly will. Obviously, they think very highly of him, and if Epatante was to line up and give her running and he was to beat her, giving her £7, it puts him right into the Champion Hurdle picture, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm sure they'd be delighted to see that.
Adagio's given the form a boost, hasn't he, as well, with a big run in the Greatwood.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I was so hoping he was going to turn up here for the fighting fifth. I was so hoping he was. But, I mean, it's going to be a big ask, isn't it, for him then in Champion Hurdle Company. That's why I was hoping he was going to get the sighter at the fighting
fifth. It's the
fifth.
4-year-old to the 5-year-old thing that people worry about. But Countrywide Flame took a fight in fifth, so, wherever Paul decides to go in the team, I will be cheering him on. It's a prize thing. It could be egg on FaceTime. We could be looking back at this in March and go, oh, Dave, that 25 to 1 Mob Morale. You could have bet next year's Arcos. But I still think he's very, very good, this horse. Who's next for On My Radar? Let's get it up. And the weekend selections, etc. Will it be Kate? Will it be G? Let's find out. Kate's back.
Me, I'm up.
That's what they titled it.
Yes, it's actually come from yesterday, and it was Run Wild Fred who finally got his just rewards for a win in the Troy Town after just a run of consistency. I don't think he was finishing second through any attitude fault of his by any means, anything like that. I mean, second in the Irish Grand National to Freewheelin' Dylan, who literally did just get a freebie then on the front end. But in contrast, Run Wild Fred got this yesterday in the Troy Town, and he just destroyed them. He was so good. He even had the time to get to the last fence and to actually get into the bottom of it and show jump over it. Such was his advantage. So he actually was my horse last year for the National Hunt Chase. Didn't miss that engagement. He just didn't go there. So hopefully this year, being the second season novice, he's going to be eligible for it with that handicapping experience to put to good use as well.
Yeah.
We know we'll get the trip. And as I say, he is just a solid proposition for that race now for me.
Yeah, for connections that like to have a go at that race, don't they? Maybe a future national horse. And interesting then, a short one for Cheltenham in March. Graeme Rodway. A reminder, of course, that Kate's gone for Remastered and Epatante as well for the big weekend races. What we got? Graham's banker. Okay, what do we got? 50 ball. You've gone off the piece, dear. 50 ball.
Have I thrown you here, Dave? Have I completely thrown you?
Very rarely does it happen.
Yeah, no, Friday, 50 ball runs in 12:40
Love it.
at Newbury.
Gary Moore's.
Yeah, Gary Moore's made quite a promising chase debut, after which Gary Moore didn't seem bothered at all that he didn't win that race. He was absolutely dead pleased with that. I think he finished second or third at Sandown, first time out. I mean, the form of the Betfair hurdle last year is absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, Soaring Glory won it, Buzz was in behind there, a bunch of other subsequent winners have run and won since, and 50 ball was second. Guard Your Dreams, there was a good horse in third as well. I think 50 ball is going to be a decent chase. That's always a hot race, that novice handicap chase at this meeting. But I think 50 ball will be up to it. That's also on Friday, Vanny and Destravel, 225. And what a run that was.
Is it? Absolute cliff horse.
He wants rain, doesn't he?
Yes, he really does.
He wants to take the fences over with him as well, doesn't he, I think?
Yeah.
Well, remember that run at Aintree last time when he was behind All Mankind? Absolutely unbelievable finish. And
the form's worked out rather well,
hasn't it? The form's all right, isn't
Yes.
it? Midnight Shadow was third, and that won the Paddy Power, so I think that'll win.
All right.
Fiddler on the Roof, we were just talked about, and the big one on the weekend.
How many more do you want, man?
The Royal Bond on Sunday. I can't wait for this horse. It's so exciting, isn't he? My mate Mozzie. My mate Mozzie. What a horse this is. I mean, he is absolutely electric over his hurdles, my mate Mozzie. He just goes over them. He really attacks them. He's so fast. He jumps a little bit to his right, which was a slight concern last time out when he won, but that's not going to be a worry round here, is it? It's going right-handed. I just think this My Mate Mozzie is a bet at any price. Just back him whatever price he is. Get on him. My Mate Mozzie in the Royal Bond. I can't wait. I've been sitting here waiting for someone to price up as I'm just going to go and back him.
Have you got any prices, Barry, out there? I think he's
He's
keen.
getting like Tom Collins now. He's getting like 10-point comp.
No.
Price is a good price.
Yeah. Grab the gold G. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so look, a lot of judges were on this before he ran last time. He's been beaten on the flat, hasn't he? That was a strange move for this one. It's Gav Cromwell, of course, who just waves the magic wand.
Yeah, well, I like a bit of Gav, don't I? You
are a
bit of
Cromwell fan.
A bit of Florian Porter, a bit of Espoir.
You would have been a roundhead back in the day.
Espoir Dylan. He's a good trainer, isn't he, old Gav?
Oh, yes.
Gav, yeah, my mate
Well,
Gav.
that's got
Not my
winning
mate
trainer.
Mozzie, my mate Gav.
Okay, unbeaten then, over jumps, and of course in the bumpers as well, and for the Supreme as well. All right, so if we can, on Saturday, by Saturday, I would have got the prices up. We'll know the field. I had a quick look at the Royal Bond. This is the Abacadabras route, isn't it? This is the LeBake route, and the horse of Sheveley Parks has not worked out over fences. Ballyadam, he won this, didn't he? Of course. And,
Did he? Yeah,
he
might have
did.
done. I mean,
Well, it used to be the race, Hurricane Fly and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I backed him for the Supreme after he won at Punchestown first time up over hurdles, but then he went a little bit to his right next time out, and now they're a little bit worried. But the Supreme is a long way away. Just forget about the Supreme and let's watch him win these races first, make our money on him. Then by the time we get Supreme, it won't matter whether he wins or loses because we'd have made so much money on my mate Mozzie by then, it won't matter.
One of the bets of the season coming up on Sunday for a rather keen Graeme Rodway, we should say. All right, that is just about all we've got time for. Don't forget you can download the free Racing Post app. You can do that on the App Store or the Google Play Store. You can see it there. We will be back on Saturday. Barry, you're making the trip to Newbury this time.
I certainly am, and looking forward to it. 2 good days racing there. Obviously, my heart will be in Newcastle and the Betfair fighting fifth, but we'll be well represented there. So looking forward to going to Newbury. Haven't been there in a while, and it'll be great to get back.
Oh, absolutely. It's all happening, isn't it? And of course, Sandown coming up as well. Kate Tracey, great to have you back.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And back next Monday as well with you all. So,
We
yeah,
are.
looking forward to this,
We'll be reviewing, of course, what's been happening after Montmirail goes and hoses up in the fight in fifth, and Kitty's Light is there, 4 out. Definitely gets me into the frame. You're not going to Newbury on Saturday, G?
No, I'll be Legoland on Saturday. Yeah, so looking forward to that. It's meant to be snowing on Saturday, so make sure you wrap up warm there, Barry. It gets freezing over at Newbury, doesn't it?
That's probably the best tip you've ever given me, Greek.
I think absolutely better than the ones that came up on Friday. So look, a great weekend. Great to have you. We got there in the end over the Gremlins. Next week, we've got another stellar guest lined up for you, and we can't wait to have you back. But before that, I'll be back in this seat covering all the action, 1 p.m. Saturday on Racing Post Live. But this has been Extra.